3 months ago, I put the ECOVACS DEEBOT X12 OmniCyclone in my apartment with 4 cats and 2 butlers.
Start vacuuming while mopping.
Since then, it's logged over 120 hours of cleaning and covered almost 3,400 square meters. My apartment is only about 50 square meters, so that's the whole place cleaned hundreds of times over. This video is sponsored by ECOVACS, and after living with it for the past 3 months, here's what's held up, what got better, and what still needs work. Every robotic vacuum robot I've owned before this needed supervising at some level. Maybe I'd have to clear the floor first, watch it so it didn't drink a liquid mess, or drag something across the room. The X12 is the first one that I just let run. Cat toys, cables, slippers, it goes around all of them, where the old ones would have swallowed a charging cable or punted a toy under the sofa. So after 3 months, I'm still pretty happy with the obstacle avoidance. It continues to avoid the loose things that I inevitably leave on the floor. So these days I actually schedule it before I wake up, which I'd never have done before. Most mornings I don't notice it running until it heads back to the dock to empty itself. And by then, I'm already up.
Let's start washing the roller mop with hot water.
In my first impressions of the X12, I felt early on it took odd routes, and I couldn't tell if it was still learning the layout or just getting confused. Luckily though, I haven't seen that early confusion in a while. It moves through the apartment more smoothly now and more efficiently, but I'm not sure if it was improved by itself or if it was from an update. But either way, I'm not complaining. How about navigating thresholds? Well, same answer as my first video. My threshold at the entrance is taller than what it's rated for, and it's rated for about 2.4 centimeters, so I needed to add a ramp. It's still working fine, and if your threshold isn't as tall as mine, the in-app threshold marker handles normal doorways without needing anything extra. And these are the reasons I run it every day. The larger Osmo Roller Mop hasn't changed much after about 100 hours of cleaning, and it still isn't leaving streaks or residue behind, even with messes I'd politely call questionable. Another thing that's done well is the TruEdge cleaning. The mop extends out and gets right along the walls and baseboards and around furniture legs pretty well. The one honest limit is the X12 size. It's a bigger machine, especially compared to my previous robots, as there's just a lot packed in there. So the really tight corners, like under my table, it can't really squeeze into. Everywhere else though, it's covered. The FocusJet spray and stain detection was probably the biggest surprise from my first video, and I didn't expect to use it as much as I have. Now that it's had a few months of human messes and cat messes to deal with, I'd put its stain recognition at around 90%. When it doesn't recognize it, it's usually because the stain is too small, really light, or almost transparent, especially in low light. One thing people may ask about is whether it only sprays the stain itself or the whole area around it. So what it does, it'll spray the area as liquids can spread, so make sure you set the no spray zones if there's anything you don't want to get wet. If you do want more control, there's the jet mop option where you can draw exactly where it sprays and mops, and that's what I use if I want a more focused clean on one area. And battery life, fittingly for this whole video, is something I just don't think about anymore. If it's running low, it just heads back, power boosts if it needs to, and picks right up where it left off. Mostly it comes up on the days where I run it 3 times.
Let's start washing the roller mop with hot water.
And of course, the busiest part of my apartment is the hallway, because that's where the litter box and mats are. It's the spot that needs cleaning the most often, and it's also where wet mopping can go wrong fast, as wet litter can often turn to sludge. It still lifts the mop 15 millimeters over the litter mats, so the track litter gets vacuumed first instead of mixed into wet mop water. 3 months in, I still haven't had any issues with smearing. Hi Eco.
Go ahead.
Go vacuum the entrance and hallway.
Okay, the area will be vacuumed now.
But sometimes clean zones don't stay clean, and when I don't want to open the app, I'll just use the voice control Eco to send it for an extra pass on just that zone, which is a nice quality of life touch. However, no product is perfect, so here's what still needs work. While I would rate the mopping excellent, the vacuuming performance is just good. The suction is plenty, it pulls up litter, dust, dirt, and hair without trouble, even out of the litter mat with the blast suction. But the part where I'd like to see it improve is the vacuuming efficiency in a single pass. I'm not certain what it is, maybe it's the routing or the coverage, but since I vacuum and mop at the same time, the mop catches what the vacuum leaves, and that does result in a fair bit of hair and debris in the mop tray. If you want a more thorough vacuum, what's worked for me is setting it to a deep clean mode, or just setting it to do another pass. Again, it's the one area where the machine is just good rather than a standout on its own. So what about the time cost of owning it? The bagless station handles the part that used to annoy me the most. It empties itself into the OmniCyclone bin, so there are no dust bags to buy or replace, and the roller washes and dries itself each run. And that's the day-to-day taken care of without me. What's left is a small recurring task. Because I mop almost daily, I empty the dirty water tank every 3 days or so and top up the clean one. The slightly more involved job comes weekly or sometimes every 2 weeks and runs about 20 minutes. I flip the robot over, check the vacuum compartments, filters, and wipe it down. Here's the ZeroTangle brush underneath, and with 4 cats, 2 humans, in the past 3 months, I haven't needed to pull a single strand of hair off of this thing. And of course, I'll clean the mop roller, mop cover, and wash the mop tray. After you clean or swap a part, the app has a maintenance section where you can mark it done, which resets the reminder. Now, the question that comes up most with a machine like this, the more it does, a spray nozzle, a lifting mop, a self-washing dock, the more you wonder whether it's going to be a headache to keep running. Luckily though, it hasn't been a headache yet. The upkeep is just similar to any other appliance. Everything that needs cleaning comes apart by hand with no tools needed. Also, nothing's degraded that much after 3 months of daily runs. And the parts that take the most abuse, the mop and the brush, are the ones I check most often. So far, it's holding up like a tool, not something to be babied. At the end of the day, the X12 is definitely for high traffic homes with pets or busy households. Anyone whose floors take a beating every single day. In this apartment with 4 cats, the floor is being done before I wake up with nothing for me to supervise. Well, that's always nice. And yes, the cats still sit on it while it's drying. But again, if I were to nitpick, there's a bit of room to improve in the vacuuming section. But if what you want is not to think about the robot in your daily life and just to let it run and have the floors handled, the ECOVACS DEEBOT X12 OmniCyclone does that well. Thanks again to ECOVACS for sponsoring the video, and if you're curious, the link and any current discount are in the description. And if you want to see the first month of my experience with the X12 where I go over noise and pet zones, check out this video. I'll see you there.